Hello, friend. I want to tell you about the Mazda 2 car. Mazda 2 is one of the first models offered to us by the Japanese manufacturer after the importer officially appeared on the European market. An inconspicuous car, often forgotten but highly valued by users. Engines in Mazda 2 DE. The Mazda 2 offered several engines. This was the case with the 1.4 MZCD and 1.6 MZCD diesels. These are designs developed by PSA, also known as HDI. The first developed 68 horsepower, the second 90 horsepower. Thus, we are dealing with the simplest versions of these units, and therefore, also the cheapest to operate. Both can be recommended with a clear conscience, but in our opinion, it is worth focusing on petrol engines in this type of car. Especially since the Mazda 2 with a diesel engine is a 100% imported car, which makes its past uncertain. The petrol engine range included two engines, 1.3 MRZ and 1.5 MRZ. The first, depending on the version and year, develops 75 or 84 to 86 horsepower. Only the second unit can be recommended due to its decent performance. The weaker one not only drives worse, but can also burn more fuel. However, when choosing the Mazda 2, we advise you to take a closer look at the 1.5 MRZ version with 103 horsepower. This engine perfectly matches the character of the car, is the most refined, and does not burn more fuel than the smaller Edian Sandian. What goes wrong in the Mazda 2 DE? Why do we recommend the 1.5 engine in particular? It is powerful and flexible, which perfectly matches the look and character of the car. It allows you to fully use the advantages of the well-tuned suspension. The manual gearbox works perfectly. It takes less than 11 seconds to reach a speed of 100 horsepower h. Fuel consumption? From 5.5 to 7L, 100 kilometers, with the latter value achieved in the city or on the highway. However, the greatest advantage of the engine is its very high reliability and durability. This is due to several factors. Not only the high quality of the mechanics, but also the low mileage of the cars. Owners of Mazda 2s with petrol engines do not drive much, so it is no wonder when a less than 10-year-old model has 100 kilometers on the clock. It is possible and realistic. Failures? Basically, the 1.5 engine and the smaller 1.3 do not have recurring, typical problems for the model. The starter motor fails sooner than the engine. That is basically all the bad things that can be said about this design. Service requirements are to change the oil every 15,000 kilometers and the spark plugs every 60,000 kilometers. We recommend shortening this to 40 kilometers. A big advantage is the maintenance-free timing chain drive, which does not cause the slightest problems. Owners are plagued by minor faults that are tiresome in everyday life, but do not affect mobility. Typical ones include batteries that discharge quickly, knocking suspension, creaking seats, chips on very thin paint, fuel filler flap closing system failures, and, worst of all, local corrosion. Although the chassis is relatively durable, it can be noisy. Most often, the knocking in cars with a mileage of over 150,000 kilometers comes from the steering gear. Unfortunately, it is not cheap. Is it worth buying a used second-generation Mazda 2? It's worth it, provided that you don't expect much practicality, especially the boot. The car should be treated as a two-seater, even in the 5-door version. If you're looking for a practical little car, we recommend, for example, the equally valued Honda Jazz. The car deserves a high note in terms of use and also provides a pleasant driving experience, provided that you choose the 1.5 MZR version. It is also pretty, and after a delicate, thoughtful visual tuning, it looks great. Although we did not focus on diesel engines in this article, we can also recommend the Mazda 2 to people who are looking for a small car with an undemanding diesel engine, cheap to run and repair. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.